there's lots of information out there about the afterlife, but not very much available about what happens as we're actually dying. And that's what people are afraid of, Happy. Are we going to fly or are we going to fry?
Hello, welcome to the Happy Insights podcast. I am your host, Happy Ali, and today on the show we have Julie Ryan. She is a woman of many talents, an author, inventor, entrepreneur, and a medical intuitive. Julie has created surgical devices used worldwide, founded companies across multiple industries, and developed extraordinary psychic skills that bring comfort and clarity to people caring for their dying loved ones. She bridges science and spirit in a very unique way, and she has written many books, but the book we're going to talk about today is Angelic Attendance, which I'm very curious about because it is about what happens when we die and the 12 phases of transition. Julie, welcome to the show.
Thanks so much for having me. What a delight to be with you.
I'm excited to dive in this topic because I have had a lot of NDE people that have had near-death experiences, but they're very unique experiences from their perspective. And as you know, everyone has a very different visual experience because I feel like it's very tailored to their beliefs. Am I correct?
Yes, I've found the same thing.
So it's nice to have somebody who might have more of an objective opinion or a way of describing the process of what really happens after we die. I know a lot of people have a hard time, and I've done many grief episodes, but I've never done one with an author who has actually described 12 phases of transition. So do you want to tell me a little bit more about how you got into this before we start, or do you want to just dive in?
Sure. First of all, to your point, there's lots of information out there about the afterlife and about near-death experiences and how to grieve and things like that, but not very much available about what happens as we're actually dying. And that's what people are afraid of, Happy. Are we going to fly or are we going to fry? Especially in this Western Judeo-Christian culture, we've all been inundated with, well, you better do this, you better be good, or you're going to go burn for eternity. Well, I'm here to tell you, all spirits go to heaven. There was a movie out in the 80s called All Dogs Go to Heaven, All Spirits Go to Heaven too. And the hell thing has just been concocted over the millennia to control the masses with fear. We saw that during the pandemic. People did stupid stuff that didn't make any sense just because they were so afraid and they were looking for somebody to tell them what to do. So how I got into this is I tell everybody, Happy, I'm a businesswoman and an entrepreneur and an inventor who learned how to do woo-woo, and I'm a buffet of psychicness.
I love the buffet of psychicness.
Psychicness. Because once you connect with spirit, you can do it all. They got woo-woos siloed. You got the mediums and the psychics and the pet psychics and the healers and the past life people. And it's like you connect with spirit, you do it all. And that's what I teach, actually, is how to do all of this. So how this came about was when my mother was dying in 2002. That was the first time I'd ever been around somebody who was dying. And on one side, my heart was breaking because my mother was unexpectedly dying. On the other side, I was seeing all of this glorious spiritual stuff that was going on. So it really helped balance the scales of the heart-wrenching grief and the gloriousness of what I was witnessing. And it's what I've come to call the 12 phases of transition. Everybody goes through this when they're dying. Now, the dying process and the near-death process are not one and the same. They're separate as I perceive them. And we can talk about that if you want. But we're all spirits attached to a body having a human experience. And when we're attached to a body, we vibrate more slowly simply because the body has mass. So how I'm able to see all this thing, all this woo-woo stuff, all this spiritual stuff is I raise my vibrational level to the level of spirit. And then I am able to connect in and see and communicate and do all of this. And it's important that I learned how to do this stuff, and now I teach people how to do it.
What is your favorite way to raise your vibration?
It's so second nature for me. It's just instant. I think of it and phew, I'm there.
And when you started doing it, did you start like practicing a certain way, or did it just happen on its own?
No, I would envision a geyser of energy coming from the core of the earth and shooting out the top of my head.
Okay, so similar techniques. I wrote a book called The Intuition Bible: How and Why to Tap into Your Inner Wisdom, all about tapping into your inner world. So
Yeah.
I'm very curious how other people teach it, because mine was channeled through me. So I didn't really have a lot of a say in what I was writing. And the techniques were just coming through me, the meditations. So then I always think, okay, I made this stuff up, but I know I didn't make it up.
Well, every author channels all their stuff. Every songwriter, every composer, every artist, every author. I mean, you had times when you were writing your book where you wrote something, then you went back and you read it later and you thought, God, I don't remember writing that, but it's pretty good. We all have that situation.
Or I got intimidated by what I wrote because I was trying to sit down and I had to be on the same level. I'm just like, oh my God, who wrote that? I'm not that person. I can't write. So I would literally stop, say, okay, right now I'm not channeling. So we're going to stop and then we're going to start again. So,
Well,
okay.
it's some people are taught, and I laugh when I say this. I say it's not necessary to meditate for an hour, twirl 3 times, jump on your left foot, and raise your right hand in order to raise your vibrational level. It's just instant once you start doing it and you get used to it. It's just instant. You raise your vibrational level. I turn my abilities on and off at will in a nanosecond.
That's amazing. So tell me more about the process that led you to discover more. I mean, it was your mother's death, right? And
Mhm.
then, so when did you start to figure out what the transitions are and what are they?
Well, it's what I call phase 1 through 12. And in a nutshell, the spirit and the body separate. And the spirit hangs on to the top of the head while the person is going through the phases. And it looks like a cartoon speech bubble where the character's thoughts or comments are happy. And then the maternal spirit closest to the person who's dying shows up next. If my mother was still, I mean, my mother will be there when I'm dying. If my mother was still alive, it would be my maternal grandmother. If she was still alive, it would be her mother. It's always on the maternal line. And that spirit is the one that runs the show, brings in the angels, brings in the other spirits, brings in the pet spirits. And that surprised me. I thought certainly God has like a death department in heaven where they say, oh, Susie Q's dying down there in San Francisco. Send an angel down to run the show and, kind of be the director of this episode of her life. And that's not what I perceive. It's always the maternal spirit that runs the show. Then the paternal spirit shows up. My dad's deceased, so he'll be there. If my dad was still alive, it would be my maternal grandfather. Again, it's always on the maternal line. And then the mother's spirit brings in the angels. And these are big old angels as I perceive them. Happy. Now, you got to remember, I went through 12 years of Catholic schools. So I was taught angels have big wings. They wear white gowns. They got a rope belt. They're barefoot. So what angels really look like? Well, that's how they appear to me, because that's how I was taught they look. To somebody growing up in an indigenous culture in the middle of the Amazon, angel energy may just look like a ball of purple fog, may look totally different. And then as the person's getting closer to death in like phase 5-ish, 6-ish, there are two additional angels that show up, and they're on either side of that spirit bubble that's attached to the top of the head. And then more and more spirits come in, and pet spirits. With my mother, I saw dogs that we had when I was a kid that had been dead for 30 years. And I hadn't thought of them, and they were there. And I thought, oh my goodness. I was talking to a girlfriend who was a childhood friend since we were 10. And I was saying, Frosty, our white German Shepherd, was there, and Rummy, our chow dog, was there, and she lived 2 doors down, and she knew our dogs. And she said to her mom, I heard later, she said, Julie wouldn't make that up. Why would she lie about that? I said, no,
That's
I
so
didn't.
funny.
It was a surprise. So, a couple of other nuances take place. May I share those?
I want you to share as much as you can.
Okay. So those two angels on either side of the spirit bubble, when they showed up, Happy, I thought, this is going to be interesting because I don't know what their role was going to be, but I knew that they were going to help my mother's spirit evacuate from her body in some way. So about phase 9, their wings started to move, and it reminded me of a giant owl. If you've ever seen a giant owl fly, or seen a documentary on them, their wings are silent. They are kind of rhythmic and very fluid. And it's almost like you can feel the drag that's being created by
Yeah.
an owl's massive wings. And I thought, this is so interesting. Well, lo and behold, the movement of those angels' wings created a vortex above my mother's head. And I could see it, I could feel it, I could hear it. It reminded me of being at the car wash at the end when they turn the dryer on and it's sucking all the water off your car as you're driving out. That's what it reminded me of. And sure enough, my mom's spirit evacuated through that vortex. And when I was writing my book, Angelic Attendants, I was led to just do some research. And I don't know why, spirit led me. And I did an internet search on owl wings vortex. Well, come to find out, there's this aeronautical engineering phenomenon called the wingtip vortex, which is what happens to anything that flies, whether it be a jet, a plane, a bird, a bug, whatever. And it's how the air goes over and under the wings, and these vortices form, and it causes lift. And I thought,
Wow.
oh, heavens. I was watching these angels' wings do this in real time, and it caused lift, and it created this vortex, and I could feel it. Now, a lot of your NDEs will talk about going through a tunnel or a vortex. So
Right.
that's a commonality that they share. And so then once my mom's spirit got through the vortex, then those angels on either side of her spirit escorted her to heaven. And heaven looks like this big whitish, yellowish plasma wall to me. And you go through it, and you just can't tell that anybody's been through it. When my mom, at her funeral, when we were going through, the wake and the funeral and all of that, there's a prayer said at the end of every Roman Catholic funeral, and it's called In Paradisum, which in Latin, when you translate it into English, is into paradise. And it talks about how the angels and your loved ones will greet you and lead you into paradise. Well, I'd been to many, many funerals at that point, and I never really paid much attention to that prayer before, but I thought, oh my goodness, I just saw that happen. And when I was writing my book, I thought, I'm just going to do some research and figure out where that prayer originated. And I learned that it began as a 5th century Gregorian chant. And so perhaps, Happy, it took till the 5th century till somebody was well educated enough. And certainly back then that was men. Those were men. And they were oftentimes living in monasteries and synagogues. And they were the scribes. And so they, some little monk, wrote what happens, how the angels and our loved ones greet us and lead us into paradise. And that's what I saw. So I believe everybody's been able to see this since the beginning of time. And perhaps it took till the 5th century till somebody was well educated enough that they could read and write.
Yeah. And then also there's so much writing that gets destroyed along the way. And,
Right.
you know,
Exactly.
so there might have been, and there might be other prayers just like it in other
Well,
cultures, in other languages.
I agree. I think there probably are. I haven't researched that, but you got these gospels that are found in clay jars buried in the desert that are thousands of years old, and they put them back together. So I agree with you. I think pretty much all cultures will have something along those
Something
lines.
along those lines.
Yeah.
Absolutely, and most NDE people, when the ones that get to actually cross over,
Uh-huh.
they always say they see their people. They don't necessarily say if it was their family or a lot of people, they're like, "Oh, those were my people. They were my tribe."
Yeah.
And some of them even say that they are people that weren't incarnated with or they weren't related to in this world, on
Yeah.
this planet. So it was from another life or another
Uh-huh.
experience or a soulmate
Right.
that has lived with them tons of lives. And then this one, they were like, "I'm not coming with you." And then they greet them right after. So
Yeah.
what did you, because I didn't hear you say anything about soulmates, children, none of that. You just
Yeah,
spoke
yeah.
about
Well,
maternal
there are thousands of spirits that are there. I call them the Welcome to Heaven Committee,
in
and
the
they
committee.
are, to your point, and I agree with same experiences as NDEers, although I haven't had a near-death experience, but I've helped thousands of people at the end of their lives as they were transitioning. There's spirits from all the different lifetimes, and the family is usually in the front row, right behind the angels. And the angels near the end, they stand in a straight line, and it's like they're the line of demarcation. They're the crowd control between the spirit worlds and our human world, because there are literally so many spirits there that they look like dots on the horizon, and they're dressed in period clothing, Happy, which is a riot. So you'll have like cavemen people dress, and then Renaissance people, and 1960s go-go boots and mini skirts from the Twiggy era, and everything all in between, different cultures, dress, all of that. The
That's really
animals,
fascinating.
yeah, the animal spirits also. It's it's been my experience that they are from this lifetime, that the person is getting ready to exit. And it's really fun when I get to see farm animals in the room, and I'll say, "Did your grandmother live on a farm, or does she now?" Because there's pigs and ducks and horses and cows and chicks and stuff like that in there too. And they'll say, "Yeah." And I'll describe what the animals look like. And they'll say, "Oh, that's Trigger, their horse, or that's Molly, their cow." Another important point to all of this is time doesn't exist in the spirit world, as you know. Time's a human creation. So it's been my experience, Happy, that everybody goes through the 12 phases of transition, regardless of if they die instantly, like in the case of a homicide or suicide, or whether they die over a prolonged period of time, days, weeks, months, even years. Everybody goes through the 12 phases.
Well, because I dream death in advance, about anywhere from 2 months to days in advance.
Yeah.
Um, and, I dreamt a car accident 2.5 months in advance. So I feel that the death process starts to happen way, way
Yeah.
before the physical action that causes the death happens. So a lot of times when I have someone who's grieving and someone who just died of an accident or an overdose or suicide, and they're like, I could have stopped that. I could
Yeah.
have stopped it. I could have stopped it last minute. There's something I could have done in the last few days. I should have done that. And I keep telling them, like, no, the only way you could have stopped it was years ago or months ago or something. But I don't think even then you were going to be able to stop it because it was their trajectory of life.
Right.
And a lot of living relatives have a really hard time seeing death as more of a graduation process.
Mhm.
And they see it as this horrible thing that happens because we miss them. And we do miss them because we miss our family. But
Sure.
my grandma, she died last year and she hasn't visited me at all, except twice when I was going to her house for the first time. And
Mhm.
they visit me in my dreams mostly and sometimes in my body. And I'm kind of mad at her And I have to be honest. There's, I tell my grandma, I'm like, you gave me these superpowers and you're not visiting. Like, what the heck's going on? A part of me is like, she was such a devout. I'm like, I don't know why. I'm like, are you mad at me? Like, what's going on? Or were you so sick of being on Earth because she was bedbound for so many years? She was like
Oh.
very alert, but she was in pain when she would walk. So she
Mm.
just lay down a lot. So I'm like, are you just so sick of planet Earth that you won't even like hop into my dream? But she's always with my mom and visiting constantly. But I'm just like, I was your first grandson. I'm like, what the heck?
And her favorite, most likely, too.
Yeah, yes, but in the beginning, of course, it's always the beginning ones. But she has so many other lovely grandchildren
Yeah.
but she loved all of us equally. But I'm just like, where the heck are you? Like, I have a superpower. I can see you and feel you, and you're not here. So, do you have any say on why
Yes,
why she's missing?
I do. And I have two other points that I want to make, and then I promise I'll answer that question. First
Okay.
point is university-based research shows that 90% of people see the spirits of deceased loved ones and pets as they're transitioning for about 6 months to their exit point, 6 months before to the time that they actually pass. So there's some validation for you on that, getting the dreams ahead of time.
So 6 months in advance, they see the people dying start to see
Yeah.
their family.
Yeah, 90% of people at the end of their lives see deceased loved ones and the
Oh,
spirits of
yeah,
deceased pets.
my grandma was literally like, she was talking to me. She's like, I'm dying, right? I said, why? I mean, I already knew she was dying, but I wasn't telling her about my dream. And she was like, well, grandpa's here, and so-and-so's here, and
Yeah,
so-and-so's here, and there's an angel by the door, by the
right,
window,
right.
and I see them, and your aunt wants to take me to the emergency room. And I don't want to spend my last days in the emergency room. I want to be home with everyone that's here with me. So
Right.
she was very much like, I'm leaving. Grandpa's like, pack your bags. Literally, I'm not joking. This is literally grandpa told her dead husband,
Right.
said, pack your bags. I got you a place. We're going.
Yes.
And, and I was supposed to go see her in Iran right before, or because just in case she died. And the last day she was like, is he coming? And my passport wasn't ready. And that day she was like, he's not coming. She just died.
Well, it's been my experience that we all decide when we go, where we go, how we go, who's with us or not when we go, and what the circumstances are that surround our passing. And every critical care medical practitioner has bazillions of stories about, yeah, they waited until so and so got there, or somebody was detained, like with your grandmother,
Yeah.
and all of that. And so do the funeral directors. Those guys all have lots of stories too from working with all of those families. Now, to the point about your grandmother communicating with you, here's my take. This is what I teach. Our heads are like big satellite dishes. They receive and transmit frequencies. Every frequency has every spirit has a frequency they keep throughout all of their lifetimes. And in order to get in touch with them, you just think of them. And that tunes your satellite dish head frequency to them, which is what
I
you
rolled my
do.
eyes, by the way, because this is what my grandmother's taught me my whole life. And she was
Yeah.
like, just call my name. Just
Call
call.
her name.
I do.
Okay.
I do. But
And,
not with anger.
and she's broadcasting to you your satellite dish head in tune to her channel for whatever reason. And I use the analogy, Happy, of the spirit communication channel is happy. I mean, like your name, it's
Love.
it's love. It's classical music, it's disco music. I challenge anybody to listen to disco music and be in a bad mood. I grew up with disco music. You can't listen to that and be in a bad mood. And so that's the frequency that spirit's communicating on when we feel badly, whether we're grieving or we're angry or we're frustrated or whatever. We're on the I feel crappy channel, like the old time country music where they'd be whining about mama, the truck, and the dog, right? And
Right.
so it's similar to satellite TV. They're broadcasting hundreds, if not thousands, of shows at any given moment. And your receiver is picking those up. But if there's a big storm that goes over, you may lose that connection periodically, but it doesn't mean those shows aren't still being broadcast. They are. So when you see your loved ones in a dream, it's been my experience that our brains all go back to the factory preset setting of spirit when we sleep, because our spirit goes back to that high vibration level because our brains rest. We're not being interrupted by a bazillion things going on in the day. And spirit, it's easier for spirit to communicate with us. I always tell people that are grieving, I always say, ask your loved ones to appear to you in a dream. So you just, to communicate with your grandmother, you just think of her, raise your vibrational level, say something to her, and she'll answer you.
Well, you're preaching to the choir because you sound like you're literally reading out of my book.
Yeah. So
I
how
do
long ago
raise
did
my
you
vibration. I've got a really good vibration. I've got a pretty dominantly high vibration, and I'm able to communicate with certain people. But I just wonder if there's a point where she's just like, you don't need me at this moment. I'll be there when you need me, somewhat, or
So that's
something.
a human thought. All
Concept,
spirits
yes.
are pure love. The personality of the person stays with the body when they die. So all spirits are pure love. So
Right.
just, talk to her. You're trying really hard. Let it flow. You know how to do this.
Well, I
Let it
don't
flow.
even try, to be honest with you. I just ask, and I kind of let it go and let them show up when they want to show up. And usually, like most dead people, show up a lot. And she just didn't. She doesn't. And I'm just very curious. I still see other people. I get a
It's
lot of
because you're
visits.
frustrated with it. You're frustrated.
I'm just curious. Now, I'm right now as I'm speaking to you, of course, and I have a little bit of a sassy tone to it for the sake of entertainment. But in
She's telling me,
general,
do you see her? She's on your right side. I mean, she's talking in my head.
well,
She's saying you're trying too hard. You're frustrated. That's a low vibration level. Just let it go. Just think of her, say something. She's going to answer you. She's going to answer you. You know this. It's the first thing that comes in your head as fast as you can snap your fingers or before. Everybody can do this. So you're blocking that satellite communication with your emotion that's tied to it. And that has a lot to do with grief. You miss her. You're frustrated. I mean, it's all rolled into one.
I think that if I try to communicate with her when I'm awake, that's an easier process. It's the give me a show in my dream or something, or show up at my foot of my bed or something. That's what I really want. Because when I see them in their youth. They're glowing.
Yeah.
They look amazing, and that's when I know the difference between a real visitation versus my subconscious having creating a scenario with her in it.
Yeah, it's kind of like they're in high def, isn't it? It's
glowing,
like everything
high def, beautiful. Yeah. So I just want to see her like that again. I've seen her, like I told you, twice. It was right when I was going to her house and when I was packing her stuff.
Are you asking her to come visit you in your dreams?
Like countless times. I've had her pictures everywhere. She will. I'm like, it's been a year, almost 2 years, Grandma. So today I'm asking you to show up. Thank you. And I will
ask her when you go to sleep. Right before you go to sleep at night.
You sound like her. I love it.
Yeah.
Because my uncle wouldn't visit either. She's like, just tell him, say, hey, can you please come? I'm waiting. And then go to sleep.
Right.
So we go and then everyone goes in the same way. And I'm just summarizing what you talked about. So the death process starts happening before, and you start getting support before, and then the process happens when you get pulled out of your body, and then you go get greeted by all the people that matter to you.
Yeah, they're all there surrounding the person as they're going through the phases of transition again, regardless of if it happens instantly or if it happens over a prolonged period of time. In my book, Angelic Attendants, we have...
Put that up again. Put that up.
We have pictures. Yeah. Angelic Attendants what really happens as we transition from this life into the next. Anybody that wants a free copy as a gift from Happy and me, just go to julieryangift.com, and we'll send you a free digital and audiobook version. You're welcome to buy the paperback if you want, but I give away tens of thousands. And in the book are illustrations of how the angels are positioned and the spirits of deceased loved ones and pets. And so there's actually a chart too at my website, askjulieryan.com, and it's a free download, and it's a chart of all the different phases, all the 12 phases. And if somebody has a loved one at the end of their lives, I'll say, download the chart, save it on your phone, and then you just ask, what phase is my dad in? What phase is whomever in? And you'll hear a number in your head, and then you refer to the chart, and it'll give you a visual of what's
I
going
love
on.
that you just go with it. You hear something in your head and you just have to trust
Instant.
what comes and don't think you're making it up.
Right.
Just go with it and then see where it goes.
Well, and
Uh,
oftentimes, and I'm sure you experienced this too, Happy, oftentimes back to the time doesn't exist in the spirit world, times of human creation, you'll get an answer from spirit, whoever it is you're talking to, and you don't have to have known them. You can talk to anybody you want. Doesn't matter if you knew them or not. It doesn't matter if they're dead or not. You can talk to any spirit that's attached to a body too. And oftentimes they'll respond before the thought's even done being thought in our head. I know you've experienced that. And at the beginning, that kind of trips people up because they say, oh, that's just my imagination. Well, no, it's not. It's that they've got what you're asking or whatever the statement is you're making, and they're responding sometimes before that thought's even done being thought.
Before you even ask the question, the answer comes. And then
Sometimes.
sometimes then you ask the question, you're like, wait, I think I just got the answer before. I
Yeah.
always think those are when you're in like pure alignment,
Right.
is that the answer comes before the question. And
Yeah.
then you just live a very smooth life. Um, so you said you have a workshop coming up?
Yeah, I
What
have
is
a
it? What is it?
class in
What is it?
Atlanta, and
Okay,
it's
it's in
October
person?
in person, October 24th through the 26th in Atlanta. Atlanta's the busiest airport in the world. So that's why I choose Atlanta, because people fly in from all over America and abroad. And it's an in-person class. We rent out a hotel, and it's so amazing. People learn how to do the whole buffet of psychicness in a weekend. And it's just one of the most life enhancing, fun things you'll ever do. It's so much fun that I have more than 2 dozen graduates that are coming in at their own expense to volunteer to help the new students and also be a
Wow.
part of it. It is. People say to me all the time, you say how much fun it is. And I thought, how much fun can it be? And then they say afterwards, you weren't kidding. It is so much fun. I said, spirit's pure love and joy. We're supposed to have fun. And so,
So
yeah,
what is
come
the
join us.
actual date?
October 24th through the 26th of
Okay.
2025 in Atlanta, Georgia.
And they can go to your website to get
Yeah,
the
and we'll
tickets?
have a special link for them that you can put in the show notes.
Okay, so it'll be in the show notes if you want to go and check it out. I love that we are so connected that I felt that you were reading out of my book. And I know that if you read my book, you will feel like you're, you're the one who wrote it or something. It'll be like very similar to it. Mine has nothing to do with death so much, but just how the process works of communicating with all the angelic beings or multi-layered beings that exist on this world, and the benefits of it and all the different exercises to do it. So I will send you a copy of that as well,
Well, and when I
a
have
digital
you on
copy.
my show, then we can do a deep dive on that too
I look
and
forward to
compare
that.
notes. Yeah,
So is there
yeah.
anything else you'd like to share before we wrap up? It's been such a delight talking to you. I know a lot of people will feel a lot of comfort hearing what you said
Mhm.
around death.
Couple of things. May I share how the book came about and how this whole Ask Julie
I
Ryan
would
thing
love
came
to.
about?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I was with my mentor, Happy, a couple of years after my mom had passed, and when she's doing a healing on me, my deceased loved ones' spirits are lining both sides of the table and they're participating in the healing, and I can see them and talk to them. Well, one day the spirit of this dead Pope shows up, and he's got his Pope hat on and his shepherd's rod and that's his whole Pope outfit. And I said to him, well, who are you? And he said, well, I'm Clement. And I said, I'm so sorry. I've never heard of a Pope Clement. And he said, well, I was number 6. I said, great. How may I help you? And I'm thinking, why is this guy here? And he said, you're supposed to teach the world what happens when somebody dies. Because people are so afraid. It's been so bastardized over the millennium. People are so afraid. And there's nothing to be afraid of. And so you need to just, get on with it. And I said, yeah, well, I'm not interested because I'm a businesswoman. People will think I'm nuts. And he said, yeah. Everything you've done has prepared you for this. I said, well, thanks for stopping by, but really not interested. See you, bye. And I was kind. So I get in the car to leave a little bit later, happy, and I looked up Pope Clement VI. Come to find out, this guy was in office during the Black Plague when 2/3 of Europe died. And he's
Wow.
best known for his prayers for the dying and his prayers for the dead. And I thought, Ryan, you can't make that up. I mean, I never heard of the guy. And that's what he's best known for. Fast forward, I'm going, no. Yeah, just not interested in doing it. But I went ahead and wrote Angelic attendance. But I thought, if I ever decide to release it, then I'll deal with that then. One Sunday I'm at church and my priest from the altar during a sermon says, wouldn't it be nice if somebody could tell us if we're really greeted by angels and the spirits of deceased loved ones and they help us when we go to heaven? And I'm getting elbowed from my son and my husband. I'm in the middle of the two of them. And I'm saying, God, seriously, from the altar, from the pulpit, you're giving me grief about this. Seriously? Okay, I'll do it. So I got the book ready to go. We put up askjulieryan.com, my website, and I thought, somebody's going to see this and it's going to affect my businesses and all of that. But I thought, okay, I'm going to go ahead. I was giving a talk at a big conference and it was mostly C-suite men at this conference. It was a business talk. So I gave my talk. The end of the talk, my AskJulieRyan.com had been up like 2 weeks. Happy. And this guy comes up at the end of my talk and he's got his iPad open and it's open to AskJulieRyan.com. And he says, is this you? Because my pictures, on the cover page, on the homepage. And I said, well, yes, it is. And inside I'm thinking, I'm just going to get shellacked on this. And he said, I'm really interested in knowing more. Can we sit together at lunch? Wow. And I'm thinking, oh, great. I'm just going to get pummeled for an hour here at lunchtime about my woo-woo part of my life. So I sat at this table. I'll always remember this. And it was a table of 8. And it was 7 C-suite men and me. And all anybody wanted to talk about the whole lunch hour was woo-woo. They didn't want to talk about the business conference. They didn't want to talk about what my material was that I'd presented in my talk. They just wanted to talk about woo-woo. And I thought, okay, God, all right, I'm in full bore. Okay, let's go. And so that's how all of this came about. And those were really, really strong signs to me that, okay, get over yourself and just get on with it.
And people are ready. And, I always talk about with other channels and mediums that there's the coming out process. That's kind of hard. So I had to come out when I was gay, and then I had to come out again as an intuitive and a prophetic dreamer. And going on dates is not always very fun for me because it's the stuff you say. I had some guy's eyeballs were about to pop out of his head. But I have a question. You know what? I just remembered something. I have my own answers for this, but you said all souls go to heaven.
Right.
What about the bad ones? The ones that do bad stuff?
The personality stays with the body when somebody dies. So somebody who's a mass murderer is just an awful, playing an awful role. It's like we're all playing a role in a movie. It's It's as if we're actors in a movie. And so that personality stays with the body when somebody dies. All spirits are pure love. And people have a hard time with that because we've been so inundated in, well, you're going to go burn in hell for forever. And I've heard it a bazillion times from spirit. All spirits go to heaven. All spirits are pure love. This is like it's like a role you're playing in a movie. And you live in LA, for God's sakes. The actors who are the most successful actors, when you see them interviewed and they're asked, what's your favorite role that you played? And it's always some villain. And I'll say, oh, they were so nuanced and it was so much fun to play the bad guy. In Mary Poppins 2, the second Mary Poppins, they came out with Lin-Manuel and Emily Blunt and all of them. Colin Firth, who I love, played the bad guy. That hurt my heart. Colin Firth was playing the bad guy. And yet, in interviews, he said it was so much fun to be that actor. The other thing that I hear, and I'd love to hear your take on this, Happy, is that there's no right or wrong, no good or bad in heaven. It's just an experience. Whereas here in our human condition, we need to have right and wrong, good or bad, because we're here to have the human experience. If we're all running around killing each other, that's going to be kind of hard to have the human experience, number one. And number two, that's how we create. When we know what we don't want, it helps us create what we do want.
I agree with you, but I have a question, which is about the soul. So the soul wants to have a human experience, but what does it get out of it?
It expands and it looks at things from different perspectives. When I'm teaching past life stuff, which is so much fun because oftentimes we can get documentation that's historic online that validates the information we get from spirit. And I say, I can't make this stuff up. I mean, I don't know this stuff. And so I use the analogy of Hamlet. You think about Hamlet. How many times has Hamlet been performed since Shakespeare wrote it in 1602? Who knows? But certainly same script, but then you think about where was it performed, in what year, in what language, by whom, who was the actor, who were the actors, who was the director, who, different perspective on the same script. And that's what I'll see repeat throughout multiple lifetimes. It'll be a similar script. And certainly we come in with lots of mini scripts or subscripts, subplots, if you will. Let's say somebody wants to be a teacher. One life they're teaching high school, and another life they're teaching grade school, and another life they're teaching on the corporate level. Maybe a lot of different ways to teach in the same lifetime. So each time we experience and explore something, it expands our spirit and it gives us a greater understanding of the collective as a whole. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah. Well, it's interesting asking questions that you already have opinions about.
Yeah.
And then just wondering what others would say. Yeah, I believe we're here as souls to transform, to become more than we were. And we also have to see life through every single perspective. Because I believe that contributes to the unconditional love that I feel like we're here to understand our divinity as well. And the more we see life through different perspectives, the more we understand the unconditional love aspect. Right. So life gives us opportunities to create more compassion in this world. So we and learn our power and use our creative power. So we'll become like actualized gods in human form, to where life becomes fun. So it's not always this chore and that this difficult thing that everyone feels like, I'm never coming back. People always say that. My clients, it's my last lifetime. I said, if you think it's your last lifetime and you want it to be your last lifetime, you're coming back. But if you really truly feel like you've mastered the art of being a human and being a divine creator in a human being, then you might not need to come back.
Yeah. When somebody says, this is my last lifetime, I'm not coming out and say, good luck with that.
I say the same exact thing.
Good luck with that. Yeah.
I believe that this is a rare experience. I mean, not rare because so many people have it, but a very unique experience that we take for granted because
Mhm.
it really does uh, feel uncomfortable sometimes.
Well, and I've heard so many times too, and I'd love to hear your take on this, Happy, is that spirits in heaven are clamoring to come back to
To
the
come
human
here,
experience because they see it as fun. And we go, fun? This is horrific. What's fun about this? And yet, most people who've been through awful experiences, they may say, oh, it was just beyond awful. And I wouldn't want to do it again. And yet, here's how I benefited from it. I'm glad it happened.
of
And
course.
I don't know what the percentage of people is, but it's a pretty good size percentage of people that have been through tough experiences will say, yeah, I really grew out of that and I learned a lot.
I had a near death experience, and I didn't have a lot of visuals. I had a lot of downloads, but
Uh-huh.
when I came back, I was so excited to be here. I was so happy. That's where happy is from. It's my legal name, but I've had it since 1995. And then I had my son die, and of course, from that came so much compassion and love, and the person that I am now would not exist without what I went through. So,
Mm.
at the same time, as much as I would give anything to have my son back, I am very happy about who I am right now as a result of what I went through.
And
So, I absolutely agree with you.
did he play a role in that was established before both of you incarnated? That's the big question.
He did. I'm sure he did
Yeah, I
because
think so
the
too.
life that I live now is completely. He did it. I mean, I don't know. Okay, it's becoming about me, but I will say one more thing, and then you can talk, and then we can wrap up. Um, I think that my calling after my near death experience was to become this person that I am and have this life that I have now and help others. And I understood that, but so many people told me that I was 17 and it was just a bunch of BS, basically, and I need to just
Right.
put, sit down and let the adults do their thing, you know? And then because of that, I kind of like decided I wasn't going to save the world. I was just going to live by example. And I think had I taken that path from that point on and followed my impulse to help save the world, or it's not save the world, but assist the world in lifting their vibration, there might have been a parallel life when my son didn't have to come and die. And also, like, I wanted to have my own children where they lived with me, and my son lived with lesbians with my daughter. They lived because I couldn't, as a gay guy, I couldn't imagine that I could ever afford it, to have surrogates and children and raise the kids on my own. And then when he died, he kind of showed up and said, "Hey, you're having other kids," and then guided me to that. So I ended up having these children on my own. I just feel like I have my dream life because of him, but there's a part of the pain that if I would have, like, when the universe knocked briefly and very subtly and said, "Hey, go become, spread the whatever you learned," if I would have listened to
Mhm.
it, maybe I would have gotten here in a less painful way. Does that resonate with you at all or no?
It absolutely resonates, the what woulda, coulda, shoulda, and that it unfolded perfectly because you wouldn't be where you are now had you not gone through all of that.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
and
And
you're way more evolved this way than you would have been had the other scenario unfolded.
yep. And I just realized you couldn't really teach happiness until you've experienced the depth of sorrow.
Well, there's
Um,
that dichotomy,
mhm.
you create out of what you don't want, and
Yeah.
that's what I've heard from countless spirits is in heaven, they just think of something and it immediately materializes. And when they're watching us go through something like the death of a child, how horrific is that? And they're going, "Oh, how's Happy gonna get out of this? What's he gonna create out of it? How's he gonna navigate this? What's gonna happen? What's he gonna come up with?" And it's like they're at a football game and they're watching to see what the next play is gonna be. Are you gonna throw a pass? Are you gonna, go up right through the line? Or what are you gonna do to score the next touchdown? And that was an interesting concept to me that there's no right or wrong, no good or bad in heaven, because I was taught that you go through judgment day when you die.
Oh, what
And
about the life review?
the life review. Well, I've heard, first of all, I've escorted so many spirits to heaven happy. I've never seen St. Peter at the pearly gate with a clipboard going, okay, you can come in. No, you got to go burn for eternity. I've never seen that happen, first of all. Secondly, what I've heard explained, I had a guy who's a Nordic spiritual guy on the show, and he was fascinating. He looked like a Viking right off the Viking ships, and he had the best explanation that I'd ever heard. His name is Kadrick, and he said the life review is when we're transitioning from linear time into spirit world time, where time isn't a thing. And he said it all condenses into the life review as we're transitioning. It's part of the transition process. And I thought that explanation resonated
You
with
like
me.
that one?
Yeah.
Okay, we're gonna go with that one then.
Okay. What do you think?
If from the concept of a karmic standpoint, where we got to come back to kind of experience and play another role, for example.
Yeah.
And because let's say I was the perpetrator and now I want to be, a victim, or
Right.
because we want to understand both aspects. If that was the case, that we're here to understand every perspective, I could see the point of a life review and say, okay, there I kind of did hurt that person, or I did this.
Yeah.
So my next life, as I'm designing my next life, I would maybe use contents of the previous life to design, to, say, okay, I want to be born in a very poor family now that I've been poor, lived in a very rich family. I want to have advantages where I didn't have advantages before, or vice versa.
Right.
So I could see that, but I don't think the soul really needs to go through the review process. It does remember what the heck happened.
Right.
You know what I
Well,
mean?
yeah, and the analogy that I see when talking about this is, you know how in Harry Potter, Dumbledore has that great big huge book, and he's looking something up, and then the pages just like go and they flip really fast, and then he's got whatever it is. I've been shown that many times from Spirit in Heaven, and they say you have access to universal intelligence, and anything you want to know, it's a similar situation. And that's a metaphor for how it happens. But I agree with you, to your point. They just know it instantly. And then they say, wouldn't it be fun to come back and explore this from this vantage point? And we look at that from our human perspective and we go, why in the name of God would anybody choose to come back and
Is
go
that
through something that painful like what you've been through, losing a child? I mean, why would anybody in their right mind do that? And yet there are many benefits.
and right now our country is in a very interesting state, and a lot of people are mad, a lot of people are happy, and 50-50. And everyone wonders, like, what's going on? Is the world falling apart? And I keep saying, no, 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 just this, the pendulum has to swing. So let the pendulum swing. It's either your way or their way, or your their way or their way. Why don't you find your balance in this very extreme world that we're living, where it's literally like pendulums on steroids or something.
Yeah. Well, and I always think too, when people say, "Oh, we've never been more divided here in America," and blah 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 blah, and I go, "Yeah, you ever heard of the Civil War?" There were
Sorry.
people in the same family, brothers, that were fighting on opposite sides. One was, for the North and for the South. And it was just awful what was going on there. The difference now is we have it all in our faces because of technology. We got a 24/7 news cycle. We got the social media stuff, and it's all about clickbait. If they can get you wound up, you're going to have more eyeballs on the clicks. You're going to click on stuff. They can sell more ads, creates more ad revenue. Same with the news. If it bleeds, it
Yeah,
bleeds.
of course.
If they're just telling you about how wonderful everything is, people are not going to be afraid and they're not going to want to watch the news as much. When people are in fear, they think they can control things if they know what's going on. So again, it's all about the ad dollars. It's all about the revenue that's
That's
generated
all it is.
from creating
Absolutely.
fear.
Absolutely. Fear is so attractive because we're designed to stay safe in this world and not die. So we're designed to be very weary of anything that feels dangerous. It's our human design. Um, Thank you so much. I don't want to go over time, and I want to really, really tell you how appreciative I am of you being on the show and sharing your wisdom and having this conversation. I felt like a really good dialogue.
I agree. My honor and joy. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you to the listeners and the viewers. Make sure you subscribe and write a review, say something, make a comment, tell us how wrong we are or how right we are. Do whatever you have to do. And make sure that you let us know what you think and click on the links below. Thank you so much. Have a beautiful day.